Greetings, everyone. Mr. Priz again. Had a viewer request a video on cattle specifically, but I thought I would just lump together all of the milk producing animals into one video tutorial because they're all kind of similar in how you handle them and how you produce their gather the milk. So we're going to take a look at in my livestock here. You notice I have cattle, I have goats, I have sheep. All of these will give you milk. Not every animal does. Sheep over here, for example, if we go in here, only certain breeds will. You only have three that actually produce milk. The goats all produce milk, and the cattle, even the dairy or the beef breeds, will produce milk, except for the Lorday, I believe. They do not produce any milk at all. One of the things you can do manually, typically, you will click on the milk button and then you can milk them. What you have to have, though, is in your buildings, you will see that you can have milking stations. These are kind of interesting. On my cow's milking station, I'll have 40 units. When you start these, it's probably best to just start small, like 5 units here is fine. These wear down by the more they get used, not by age necessarily, like other buildings. So you'll notice with cattle, since I have more cattle and they get produce more milk, I actually build more units because when I only have like 5, they just wear down so fast. I'm constantly having to rebuild new milking stations. So that's just kind of a feel thing. You'll see how fast they start wearing down, and that'll determine, let you know, hey, maybe I should build a bigger one. But you can always expand them. Let's see here. Aside from that, you'll also need milk tanks, which are cheap to build. Um, I tend to have multiple ones going because I do supply dairies for co-ops, primarily our co-op, but I have different ones. You have to have different ones not only for the cow milk, ewe milk, goat milk, but also if you have organic, that has to be a different one also. You can't mix all these here. So you have to have multiple tanks. If you try and milk and there's not room in the tank, then you'll just lose that milk, particularly if you're doing the auto milking from a pack. I would like to mention that there is a pack, actually, these packs that you can add on. If you'll see here, I do have the milking and egg picking pack. I think this is the most valuable pack in the SimAgri world. These packs are like €4 for an entire real life year. Well worth it, in my opinion. This pack here, I've got 3 different animals. I have to milk them all separately, and you can do it 4 times a day. That's a dozen of them, basically, a day for an entire year. It's over 4,000 milkings that you have to do. So to come on and do it manually would be kind of a pain. So it's better to just use the pack, and it's done automatically. You see I get a report here on the first one, second one, third one, fourth one hasn't happened for today, but I can see all these milkings got done automatically at the third stage. Now, you can't just do 4 milkings. You can't just milk them and then milk them again and whatever. You have to wait a certain amount of time. The way the SimAgri calendar works, like I'm on November 7 here, this is the last day of the month. It's a compressed calendar, of course, like everything else in SimAgri. But for the cows, it would be, I guess, kind of unrealistic to only be able to milk them 7 times in a month. So you can do it every 6 hours. That gives you basically 28 milkings that you'll get in this month period, 4 times 7 days. The problem is, wow, you're going to become a slave to the game because you can milk from midnight to 6, 6 to 12, till noon, basically, noon to 6 p.m., and then 6 p.m. till midnight. Having to come on each time to do that. And that's fine. If you want to do that, that's great. I think the milking pack's much easier. Takes a lot of stress off you. It's just done automatically. And that is in the game rules. If you're having trouble with how to do any of this type of stuff, you can actually look up the milking in here. Milking your livestock, okay. Bottom of the page always has a link for all your game rules. So the milking can be done 4 times a day, 6, 12, 1800, and 2400. If you want to milk it, the manual way, you have to do it yourself, but I think the packs are, this particular pack is worth the €4. It's a penny a day to have this done for you. It's really no reason to not use it. The different breeds will get you different amounts of milk. Prime Holstein is kind of known as being the breed that gets you the most. So there's a lot of people just kind of bank up on them. If you'll see, there are different breeds for Canada and the U.S. I'm on the U.S. server on this. But the Prime Holstein will get you, what, 28 average milk production? 28 liters a day? So that's pretty good. That's far and away. The Red Holstein does too. I don't know why more people don't do them. They don't get as big, I don't think. Or you'll see the non-milk breeds don't get you as many liters per day. But they tend to get bigger. You can leave them out in range. I certainly leave, you got to be very careful of leaving them out in range. In the winter, your dairy breeds won't take it. They can't stand it. They'll freeze to death. I had a friend who was playing this game who basically rage quit because he had all his cattle out there and all his dairy cows died when it came to winter because he forgot to bring them in, and he just totally quit the game. He got so upset because he had invested so much in them. But in the winter, we are kind of in the winter months now in November, and they tell you that you have to have your cattle brought in. But I have all my, right here, 354. I have all my meat breeds are still out there. In order to do that, you have to have the troughs for their water, and you have to have hay racks, feed racks. They're going to take what, like 11,000 kilos of food right here, and I've got 66,000. I've got about a week's worth. I probably need to put some more out there just to have a week's worth. If I actually went into that plot, you buy these racks off the co-op in the static equipment area. So it's kind of difficult, kind of tricky to find them sometimes, but they're in there, and you'll need a number of them. You'll kind of know as you put them out there for how much they can hold. Each one's looking like it holds 3,500 kilograms. So it depends on how many cattle you have out there. But to actually find those, it's the cooperative up here at top, and then you actually go to static equipment, search static equipment. That's where you're going to find your troughs, and that's where you're going to find your hay racks for the sheep and cattle. The sheep, the meat breeds, and the cattle meat breeds can stay out over winter. Goats do not have that option. Goats you pretty much have to bring inside. You can just raise all your animals inside, and that's fine. They go through a lot of food, especially the cattle, so I like putting them out in a meadow. Let them just, graze on grass. I have plenty of land, so they can go out there and chew up the grass all year long. Then I bring the milking breeds back in for the winter months. The goats I actually even let out there, mainly because I'm trying to get them all converted to organic. I'll actually do a video one of these days on how to get your animals converted for organic labeling of your animals. I have my goats are organic, and my guinea fowl are organic, and the ducks that I've just started, they're going to end up being organic. All right, one of the other interesting things that I've tell you about when you want to actually move your cows, there is a purpose. You probably notice up here this my dog thing. That dog actually does have a purpose. I'm on my third generation of poor Banjo here. She's my border collie. You can actually move if they're in the same zone. Then you can actually move your cattle between the zones using your dog. You don't have to put them in a cattle truck. So that's another neat little thing that you don't get to do too often in this game, but once in a while it's just a different way. If you happen to have, like in my meadows, if I have more than one, I'm going to try and put all these in zone 1 on purpose, so that as I move them around, and you need to move them around, when it's at like 100%, you want to mow the field, get it all knocked down and regrowing to get your grass silage out of it, or hay, whichever you want to collect. So I constantly do work those fields, but in order to do that, I want to move all these cattle. So you would go into all these cattle down here, and we get down, scroll way down to the bottom, past all these cattle, and let's say I've got however many I've got out here. I think I could do up to 500, like 354. I could actually move the selection in a meadow using, I could put them over into this meadow using my dog and then move. My dog actually has APs just like I have APs. So you actually have a shepherding dog, if you buy the shepherding dog, that you can use to move certain animals. You can't use them to use buffalo. You can't use them on them, but you can use them for horses. You can use them for the cattle, anything that you can normally use a shepherding dog for. They actually do have a purpose. It's not just buying a dog to have a little companion, but it's kind of nice that they actually have a purpose. That's kind of all you need to know about milking. All the animals that you can milk, there are three of them, and for the longest time, I never did milking animals. And that's because I wasn't going to stop and milk them every 6 hours. I knew I'd forget, so I didn't bother. And then I finally said, you know what? It's probably worth getting the pack once a year. A real life year is about 3.5 SimAgri years, so it's really worth doing it. Like I said, it's about a penny a day to have all these three different breeds 4 times a day. That's a dozen milkings. That's worth the penny easily. I would highly recommend doing that. Otherwise, you're going to have to click on this milk, and then it would tell you, how many you need to milk. There's nothing to milk because it's automatically done for me. But that's the way you would manually do it, and then you would assign which tank you want it put into. Another interesting thing that you do with your milk is, of course, you can have dairy contracts. I have contracts with our own co-op. Co-op produces it. They pay a little more money than you would get from SimAgri. You can sell it straight out if you want, but I save it all because it's going to sell to the co-op. And then the co-op processes it into the raw milk into finished product and sells it from there. Milk quality, the higher your milk quality, the better you will get. So when you're breeding your milk or your animals, the bigger thing that you want to look at, I don't even think I have any available here, but if I did, well, like this Lorday, even though the Lorday is not really going to get me milk, but just for demonstration purposes, you would want to look at some of the stats for that Lorday, but you might want to look at the milk quality might be more important. You want the highest milk quality for your breeder. You don't necessarily want the biggest sum of stat for if you're breeding, purely to get better milk, because the better the milk, the more money you're going to get for it. So it's important to look at that when you actually want to have milk sell to even to straight to SimAgri. You're going to want to get a better price. Let's see, like this contract I have here. You'll see how it's basically I can sell it either the 60s through 80, but it's either 352, 374, or 396. So I'd rather get 396 every 1,000 liters, but I have to actually be able to produce that quality level of milk, 70 to 79, in order to get the higher price. So you definitely want to keep in mind what the milk quality stat is on the animals in order to get the best dollar that you can, the best top pay that you can for the milk that they're producing. And anyway, I think that's about it on this. It's kind of a short video. Did not have a lot to cover. Just kind of wanted to go over, since it was requested, go over the milking stuff. Really do pay attention to the breeds. If you're not sure which breeds you want, you can usually find out either from the rule page. Do your research. See how much milk they produce. See whether they're a meat or a dairy breed. Keep in mind that the dairy breeds have to come in during the winter or they will die. Your meat breeds can stay out there, but then you also got to feed them. They have to have winter ration. So there's a lot that goes into a lot of thought that goes into your milking animals. I do wish you good luck with that. It's a tougher place to start. You're probably better off starting with something simple like the poultry or that type of thing to begin the game with. I know a lot of people jump right in, and they'll get right into the cattle and goats and sheep. And that's an excellent way to make money, because you do have a secondary product. And it's with these, so you have a tertiary. The goats and the sheep can produce wool for you. Again, you'll need like a wool room to be able to shear them. I don't think I have any right now that need shearing, but normally you would shear them costs you a small amount of APs. The wool doesn't make you a lot of money, but again, it's a nice little secondary income. So it's worth doing those. And that'll do it on this one. I will make, hopefully before too long, I'll be making something else soon. I'd like to do maybe a little top 10 or tips and tricks, things that a lot of people don't know about, like I covered the dog today. Most people probably have no clue that dog actually has a purpose. So until next time, I hope you have a very good game. We'll hopefully see you in game if you're on the US server. And until next time, ciao.